Now, there's not much more fun when driving a vehicle to be able to get a little rubber to start, ram it through the gears, downshift, get the engine doing a little backup, and it was fun. So that's what I did to make this whole thing be in the car more fun to drive. Pretty much nowadays, you can hardly get a car, unless you're in overseas, that has a manual transmission. And they are really fun to drive. When I was in high school, I had a Ford Galaxy 500 with a 4-speed. Loved that. I actually learned how to drive with the Austin Healey Sprite that had a stick. Tanya and my first car that we bought together was a Pinto, and it was a stick. My CJ5 Jeep was a stick. Always had a stick. Always drove them. They were always fun to drive. And then I got a truck and pulled a boat with it and a camper, and I got that to be an automatic, or I bought an automatic. So, but it's different because you have to pay attention. But it's a lot of fun to drive a stick. So that's one of the things I did to make the Mustang a little more fun, is I put a 5-speed transmission. The one that was originally a automatic, and it was a 3-speed, and the manual transmissions that came with the Mustang were 4 speeds. Well, this is a 5-speed and gives you that extra gear for highway and stuff. Just make it a little easier on the engine. Doesn't have to wrap as high, but it's still really fun to drive. And so let me go ahead and kind of show you how I got all that going. This is similar to the kit that I did buy, all the parts that came with it. This is a picture of it in the box. It got kind of beat up hanging around when it was shipped, but I was concerned. I thought I had a cracked in the casting, and it found out that I sanded it down to make sure it didn't go anywhere, and it was just a surface flaw, I guess you'd call it. Looked bad, but nothing's leaking, and like I said, I did clean up the surface, and it was gone. So it's just a little one. This is my buddy John. He helped me put it in. This is Cobra John. The transmission that came out, the 4-speed transmission. Here's a box of all the old junk that came out with it. I copied a picture of the exploded view of the transmission. This is not exploded. It's kind of how it all goes together, but you can see the different components, the pressure plate and all that kind of stuff. Throw out fork and bearings and make it maybe a little easier to understand as it goes together. There's a bearing here. You can see that. It's a pilot bearing. The original one was just a solid piece, where the one that came in was a roller bearing. So, funny story, kind of a weird thing, but to take out the original bushing, and my buddy told me this, and I thought he was nuts, but just get white bread, and you put it in there, and you just pound it in as much as you can, and it popped that thing out unbelievably easy. I was surprised, really surprised. After changing the bearings, the first thing I did is put in the backing plate, which is a piece of tin, and then I put in the flywheel. Then had the 4 bolts that you had, spec them down to whatever, I can't remember what it was, but they needed to be tightened down. That's what kind of holds everything together. Next, you install the clutch disc itself, and then this pressure plate, this blue thing is the pressure plate over that, and that's what really pushes down on the pressure plate, which engages the transmission. You can see I've installed the bell housing, and inside the bell housing you can see that round thing up there, and that is it's a bearing that actually engages the clutch. There's a fork you can see off to the left that hooks up to the linkage, and engages the transmission.
Put in the view again of the whole assembly, maybe make it a little clearer at this point.
The 4 studs that are screwed into the bell housing, what I did is got bolts that fit in there, and I cut the heads off, and I put a groove in it so you could take them out with the screwdriver. And that was to align the transmission. When you're putting it on, you just slide it and it goes over those bolts and kind of connects a little easy. Now this transmission was heavy, and we really didn't have the room to use a lot of jacks and this kind of stuff, so we pretty much laid it underneath and did the old bench press with the transmission to get it in place. Thank God John Strong.
Trying to just get a better picture of the transmission put in. There's the bell housing. The transmission starts right at that place. Starter. So there's a support for it. Like I said, we had to put the, I think I'm done crawling underneath this thing, but I need to get out. The drive shaft got a new, well, I guess I ought to put it the right way. You can see the drive shaft connected. It's got all new fittings, obviously, but it goes all the way back to the differential. That's all new. Where it connects to the transmission. Also had to, this is the emergency brake. I had to redo that a little bit. I had to put a bracket there so the transmission would fit. It works now. I don't know if it was done the way it was done at the factory, but it's there. Okay, let's go on the other side because I got something else to show you over there. Oh, the wrong way. See the drive shaft a little better on this side, maybe. I did paint it. Not easy to see, but you can see the transmission support where you fill the fluid, and then I don't know if you can see up there, but there is a starter. Yeah, that starter, I think you can see it, had to be changed because of the flywheel. And I didn't realize that till a few marks in. Nobody, nothing was on the installation that we had to do that, but we did.
The new clutch mechanism was a cable, and here are the parts you can see here. Started at the top. I'll give you a few stills where you can kind of see the cable running before I go into the video that I did. It's
one of the things that we had to install, obviously, you have linkage for the clutch, and here is the cable. It's a clutch, it's a cable where it goes to the firewall. Had to take the brakes off, put this bracket on, and then this goes through. And this actually, right here, has a little nut where you can fine-tune the clutch. Had to go down underneath. You can see it goes around the oil filter. And let me go underneath. The cable comes up there. There's the housing.
the throughout fork housing. And on the end of that, we have sleeve there. That was just supposed to, in case it got too close to the exhaust. But you can see where it goes all the way down there. There's a strap holding it, and that's the clutch. And you can see the... let me get the light.
Now you've added a clutch, but you used to have just two pedals. So we had to go ahead and install a whole new pedal system. Here's kind of exploded view of how it all went together. Got the brake light. That's the switch to turn on the brakes, and now you can see all three pedals. This is really a pain in the ass because you're up on your head. You can see pedals are in, and then you can see the stick transmission coming through the floor. Had to get a boot for that, but it took like 6 weeks and really doesn't fit very well, but it'll have to do for now.